Iran actually strike the United States directly? It might sound unlikely, but it's a question that's been coming up more and more. Like any country that develops military technology, Iran has likely built systems we don't fully know about, things that stay behind closed doors and out of the public eye. Some Iranian officials have even hinted that their missile capabilities could potentially reach the US. But here's the thing, nobody really knows what secret weapons any country has. Not Iran, not the US, not anyone. So in this video, we're not going to throw out wild claims or pretend there's some hidden weapon that only a few people know about. That's not what this is. Instead, we're going to break down two realistic scenarios, based only on weapons we already know exist, where Iran could potentially target US territory. Now, you've probably heard about the tensions between Iran and the United States. In past conflicts, Iran has targeted US bases across the Middle East using missiles and drones. There have even been reports of strikes reaching as far as Diego Garcia, about 2,360 miles, or 3,800 kilometers, away from Iran. So that raises a bigger question. Could Iran go even further? Could cities like New York, Los Angeles, or others inside the United States actually be within reach? What do you think? Could this happen in a future conflict? Let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in military analysis and Middle East conflicts, especially anything related to Iran, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos. Now here's where things get interesting. In recent years, while most countries have focused heavily on building advanced air forces and fighter jets, Iran has taken a different approach. Instead of trying to compete in the skies, it has invested heavily in missile and drone technology. Why? Because countries like the United States and Israel have extremely powerful air defense systems, and building and maintaining a modern air force is incredibly expensive. Missiles and drones, on the other hand, are cheaper, harder to intercept in large numbers, and can be just as effective in certain scenarios. Scenario 1. Iran uses an intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM. These are missiles that, after launch, travel in a curved, arc-like path. They go far outside the Earth's atmosphere, reaching altitudes of around 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers before diving back down toward their target. Now here's the challenge. The distance between Iran and the United States is roughly 12,000 kilometers. But Iran's known ballistic missiles have a range of about 3,000 kilometers, or around 1,850 miles. And officially, Iran has stated that it does not have an ICBM program. But remember what we said earlier, we don't have full visibility into any country's classified weapons programs. It's possible that longer-range systems could exist, even if they haven't been publicly revealed. Some Western analysts have also pointed out that space technologies, like satellite launch vehicles, could potentially serve as a foundation for developing longer-range missile systems in the future. But there's a second, more complex scenario, using something called FOBS. That stands for Fractional Orbital Bombardment System. This concept was first developed during the Cold War by the Soviet Union, and today, it's gaining attention again, especially when combined with newer technologies like hypersonic glide vehicles, or HGVs. So how does FOBS actually work? Unlike ICBMs, which follow a predictable arc and spend most of their flight outside the atmosphere, a FOBS system launches its payload into low Earth orbit, at an altitude of roughly 150 kilometers. But here's the twist. The payload doesn't complete a full orbit around the Earth. Instead, before finishing that orbit, it uses a retro rocket to drop out of orbit and then falls toward its target. Because it briefly enters orbit, in theory, it can approach a target from almost any direction, even from the opposite side of the planet. That means a missile with a more limited range could still reach extremely distant targets by using orbital paths and the Earth's rotation. And this is where it gets really interesting. One of the biggest advantages of FOBS is that it can strike from unexpected directions. For example, early warning systems, like US radar installations in Alaska and Greenland, were primarily designed to detect missiles coming over the North Pole. But a FOBS system could approach from the south, over the South Pole, potentially bypassing those detection systems. This could reduce warning time from around 15 minutes to just a few minutes. But it's not perfect. FOBS has some serious downsides. It requires more energy, which limits the size and power of the payload. It's generally less accurate than traditional ICBMs. And overall, it can take longer to reach its target. Plus, while it might evade ground-based radar, the launch itself can still be detected by early warning satellites. All of this is why the system was eventually abandoned. However, recent reports suggest that this concept may be making a comeback, this time combined with hypersonic glide vehicles. In that case, once the payload re-enters the atmosphere, it can glide at extremely high speeds, maneuver unpredictably, and make interception much more difficult. Iran has also claimed advances in hypersonic technology in recent years and has reportedly used some of these systems in conflicts involving the United States and Israel. So when you compare the two, ICBMs are simpler and more cost-effective, but they're also easier to detect and track. FOBS, on the other hand, is more complex and less efficient, but potentially much harder to predict and intercept. So which scenario is more likely? Honestly, both are possible. And if something like this were ever to happen, the real question becomes, could US defense systems actually stop these kinds of threats? Because even in recent days, we've seen Iranian missiles and drones hitting targets, including US bases and Israeli cities, despite advanced defense systems like THAAD and David's Sling being in place. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.